Let's learn how to set up the Pokémon TCG. The very first thing to do is flip a coin. The winner gets to decide who goes first. Then, it's time to set up the game. Your deck is placed face down here. Every deck should start with exactly 60 cards in it. Make sure to shuffle your deck before you start a game. Each player draws 7 cards from their deck at the beginning of the game. This is your hand. You always start your turn by drawing 1 card from your deck into your hand. This is where your active Pokémon goes. This is the only Pokémon on your side that can attack on your turn. At the beginning of the game, place a basic Pokémon from your hand in the active spot. If you don't have a basic Pokémon, shuffle your hand back into your deck and try again. Your opponent gets an additional card at the beginning of the game each time you have to reshuffle to find a basic Pokémon to play. Look at the corner of your Pokémon cards to make sure you play a basic Pokémon to start the game. This is your bench, where you can have up to 5 other Pokémon waiting for their turn to battle. You may put additional basic Pokémon from your hand onto your bench when starting the game or during your turn. Double-check the corner of your Pokémon cards to make sure any Pokémon you play on your bench is a basic Pokémon. If your active Pokémon is knocked out, you need to choose a new one from your bench to battle. Make sure to keep Pokémon on your bench, because you'll lose the game if you don't have any more Pokémon left to battle. Each player also has a discard pile. Cards taken out of play, like a knocked out Pokémon, and all the cards attached to it, typically go to your discard pile. Before you start playing, you also need to put the top 6 cards of your deck off to the side, face down. These are your prize cards. Every time you knock out one of your opponent's Pokémon, you get to take one of the prize cards placed here from your deck as a reward. Remember, if you take all 6 of your prize cards, you win the game. When you're setting up the game, your active and benched Pokémon are played face down. Once you're ready to begin, turn your active and benched Pokémon face up and start battling. The player who goes first draws a card and goes through the steps of the turn. Note that the player who goes first cannot attack or play a supporter card on their first turn. After the first player is finished, player 2 draws a card to start their turn. From here on out, both players can play supporter cards and attack as normal. Win. Let's watch this game and learn about more tips and battle strategies. Poplio's pound attack does 10 damage to Yungoos. Now it's the next player's turn. Start your turn by drawing the top card from your deck. Looks like Yungoos has taken quite a bit of damage and is about to be knocked out. Sometimes, you might want to retreat your active Pokémon and bring out a Pokémon from your bench to fight. To retreat, you have to discard the same number of energy as the active Pokémon's retreat cost. Some Pokémon have higher retreat costs than others. Rowlet doesn't have any damage yet, so it's a good choice to switch with Yungoos. With a grass energy attached, Rowlet can use its tackle attack. Remember that you can only attach 1 energy card per turn. Normally, Rowlet's tackle does 10 damage, but Poplio is weak against grass types. Some Pokémon have weakness or resistance to certain types. An active Pokémon receives extra damage from attacks if it has a weakness to the attacker's type, and less damage if it has a resistance. Since Poplio is weak against grass-type Pokémon, it takes 20 damage from Rowlet's tackle attack instead of 10. Always pay attention to weakness and resistance to gain an extra advantage in battle. Don't forget to start your turn by drawing a card. That Psyduck is a basic Pokémon that can be played on your bench. You can put as many basic Pokémon on your bench as you want during your turn until you have 5 total. Look at that! Poplio evolved to Brionne. If you have a Stage 1 or Stage 2 Pokémon in your hand that says it evolves from a Pokémon you have in play, then you can play it on top of your Pokémon to evolve it. Check the corner of a Pokémon card to see its evolution stage and what Pokémon it evolves from. Here, you can see that Poplio is a basic Pokémon, and Brionne is a Stage 1 Pokémon that evolves from Poplio. This is Primarina, a Stage 2 Pokémon that evolves from Brionne. Evolved Pokémon have more powerful attacks and HP. The only catch with evolving is you can't evolve a Pokémon on its first turn in play. That also applies to newly evolved Pokémon. You'd have to wait an additional turn to evolve Brionne to Primarina. Let's look at some other Pokémon. Yungoos is a basic Pokémon, and Gumshoos is its evolution. Here you can see that Gumshoos is a Stage 1 Pokémon that evolves from Yungoos. Let's get back to the battle. Brionne already has 1 water energy, so it only needs one more energy to use Wave Splash. Remember that you can attach one energy per turn. Wave Splash has a colorless energy, so any type of energy can be used for its attack cost. Now it's time for Wave Splash for 30 damage. Pokemon TCG other than Pokemon and Energy. Let's take a look at trainer cards, like this potion card. These are trainer cards. Trainer cards are items, supporters, and stadiums that can help you in battle. You can use as many items as you want during your turn. There are even special items called tools that you can attach to your Pokemon. Each Pokemon can have only one Pokemon tool attached at any time. This is a supporter card. You can only play one supporter card per turn. The same goes for stadiums, but the effect of stadiums apply to both players, and they stay in play after you play them. It's always a good idea to include different trainers in your deck to help you out. Now let's see some trainer cards in action. Nest Ball is an item that lets you search your deck for a basic Pokemon to put directly on your bench. Nest Ball brought Bulbasaur out to the bench, and it's powered up with a grass energy. It's a good strategy to get the Pokemon on your bench ready for battle by powering them up with energy. Choose wisely, since you can only attach one energy per turn. Time for Rowlet to use Tackle. That's 20 damage due to Brionne's weakness to grass types. There's another trainer card. The Howl Supporter card lets you draw 3 extra cards from your deck. Remember, you can only play one supporter card per turn. With that lightning energy, Brionne can attack with its strongest attack, Disarming Voice. Rowlet was knocked out with all that damage. Every time you knock out one of your opponent's Pokemon, you get to take one of the prize cards you set up at the beginning of the game. Your prize cards are the 6 cards placed here from your deck at the start of the game. Remember, you win the game if you take all 6 of your prize cards. When your active Pokemon is knocked out, you need to choose a new one from your bench. Your opponent can also win if you don't have any more Pokemon left to battle. Looks like Bulbasaur is up next. There's a Potion card. Potion is an item card that heals 30 damage from one of your Pokemon. This potion healed 30 damage from Yungoos. Some trainer cards, like Potion, can be used to help Pokemon on your bench or your active Pokemon. Bulbasaur evolved into Ivysaur. Ivysaur is Bulbasaur's Stage 1 evolution. This turn isn't over yet. Ivysaur now has 2 grass energy attached and attacks with Razor Leaf. That's 60 damage with Brionne's weakness to grass types. Brionne is knocked out too.